Welcome to From Loneliness to Overflow with Matina. I'm your host, a holistic healing coach, divorce recovery coach, and a passionate advocate for personal growth and your guide on the journey to healing. This podcast is for those who are struggling with the feelings of loneliness, disconnection, feeling stuck, and who are ready to discover their inner potential and live a life overflowing with love and connection. Inside, we're going to explore the path from pain to transformation, bridging the gap between loneliness and abundance through heartfelt conversations, spirituality, energy work, and self-awareness. So let's get started on this soulful journey together. Welcome to another episode from Loneliness to Overflow with Matina. Today's guest is a soul who believes that alignment from within creates alignment outside of the world. And not only that, it is also about you understanding and getting to discover parts of yourself that we haven't always understood or seen fully yet. So I'm so excited for the conversation we're going to be holding today, Gianna, and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Matina. I'm so excited to be here.
I am excited for this conversation because alignment, it on its own can mean so many different things to so many different people. So the way that you discovered it, you understood it, you took it, and now help women with that as well, it's a very unique story to share and to bring to the table. So I'm excited for that and for our listeners to really feel your true passion and connectedness with yourself as you are sharing with everyone else how they can discover their magic. But before we step into that conversation, please introduce yourself.
Again, thank you so much, Matina, for having me on. I was so looking forward to this conversation and just being a match for each other and being able to sit here and harness our energy to bring it out into the world and share with our communities is incredible. And so I am a Reiki master and alignment leader. And the work that I do with my clients is really about creating a remembrance into who they are and allowing them to feel their aliveness again, allowing them to completely own who they are, create a life that they desire and that feels as fulfilling as they thought it would when they first set out to create it. And so initially, a lot of my work started through the practice of Reiki, and it has just compounded and built from there. But more than anything, it has been through the embodiment and the learning and the integration of all of that work that has allowed me to become the best mother that I can be, the best wife that I can be, the best friend, the best daughter, all while doing it in the name of alignment.
In the name of alignment. You know, it's very interesting and fascinating to me that whatever we do in our lives, there's a story behind it that we had to go through ourselves. So the one question, if you will, that I ask all my guests, and I'm curious to hear what your story is what was your loneliness or disconnection moment that led you into the overflow and into the service that you're doing right now?
I love sharing this because as I was going through this experience, it felt very lonely. And I want to share that with women because as you continue to move through alignment, there are still moments of loneliness where you feel like I don't quite connect with certain people anymore. The conversations I have with people aren't what they used to be anymore. And so although there's a sense of loneliness as you continue to move through alignment, there's also a deep sense of like comfort and connection with yourself that allows you to become a match for the right people. And so at the time that I was experiencing this loneliness, I was working in the education system. And what had happened was my closest friends initially that I was working with had all moved to different positions, different roles. And so I had started that year still with coworkers that I loved, but not that I was like personally connected with. And so I was going to work every day and feeling really burnt out in my job, really alone in my job, feeling like I had outgrown this area. And so what I realized is that once I kind of removed you know, the masks of like the relationships and the distractions. And I just was there with myself. I had realized that this job, this career was no longer in alignment with me. And I felt very separate from everybody. And so I noticed that I would start kind of sitting alone more often in the mornings and just being with myself as opposed to socializing. I noticed that I was leaving the building on my lunch period versus going to the staff room. So just little behaviors that were kind of clues as to the fact that this wasn't aligned anymore. Something was off. And so I had gone to start receiving Reiki. I'd always been curious about energetics. And so I had gone to receive Reiki. And the first session I had was like mind blowing. Like I felt like this practitioner literally removed a block of bricks from my throat.
Mm.
And I left the session just feeling so high on life. And I'm like, I felt so great and so light. I want to do this again. And then I went back for another session and it was just tears. And I'm like, hang on, what is going on here? And so that piqued a little bit of curiosity for me, which really was the introduction into the world of Reiki for me. And so as I continued to explore this world while still navigating this career, the areas where I was misaligned became so much more apparent, right? I was coming home and I was just so tired and impatient, and I would be short with my kids. I would be so tired, too tired to have conversations with my husband at the end of the night. And just, you know, I wouldn't say I was unhappy, because on the day to day, I was happy and I was, finding joy in certain moments of my life. But when I was able to take a step back, I thought, I'm not fulfilled. Like, I can't be living this forever. And I looked at my career in the same way that I would look at a marriage. And I thought, okay, at this point, I think I was like 35 or 34. And I'm like, I still have like a good 20 years in this career. Could I stay here for another 20 years? Would I, if this was a marriage and I was unfulfilled, would I stay in a marriage for another 20 years? And the answer immediately was like a jolt in my sacral that was like, absolutely not. And so I knew in that moment that I needed to make a change, but I didn't know what that was yet. And so I just continued to allow myself to deepen my knowledge in energetics and just in feminine energetics specifically, because I was living very much in the masculine of just the go, 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 constantly checking things off the list. And once I allowed myself to really lean into the feminine and start making more time for myself, prioritizing things that actually brought me joy, really embracing my family and seeing each other as like equal power but different, seeing the gifts in my kids, and just my whole world started to shift. And I came to a point where I knew that I didn't want to be here anymore, but I didn't know exactly where I would be going next. And so I was in therapy, and the therapist had suggested, why don't you take a break from work and you can figure out, what reignites you, right? Like what you want to do with your life. And I was like, absolutely not. Like the guilt that just weighed on me of how can I leave this career? I'm the only person in my school that has this role. And so things would fall apart if I wasn't there. And so many people depend on me. And, all of the human thoughts that we have, the guilt and the doubt and the fear. And then one day I actually was playing with my kids and got hurt. I hurt my back and I was off of work. I had to be off of work physically because I was injured. And in that time, while I was off, the whole energy of my house shifted. It was lighter. It was calmer. It was just more joyful. And actually, my husband was the one that brought it to my attention. And he was like, have you noticed that since you've been home, like everybody's just calmer and more joyful, and like just the energy had shifted? And I'm like, you're right. And then I knew in that moment, I was like, I cannot go back. Like, I want to be home. I want to be more present for my kids.
There is such a wealth of experience that you're bringing to the table right now. Not only did you recognize that there is this heaviness on you to not continue the career that so many people counted on, that you had built and put so much time and effort into.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing, right? Like when we have invested our energy, our time into a career, into a person, letting go of that becomes like, but I can't. I invested so much.
Yeah, and it's a part of your identity. So it's almost like, who am I without this thing, right? Like, who am I without this career? Because the other thing is when we meet people, one of the very first things we say to them is like, okay, hi, how are you? What's your name? What do you do? Like, what do you do for a
Yes.
living?
Yes.
And so it was a huge identity shift for me to be like, well, who am I outside of this? And then it expanded into like, who am I outside of being a mother? Who am I? The one thing I have to say that I've learned is that all of those parts are the sum of who I am today. And a mentor said that to me, and it just rang so true. And she's like, you are the sum of all of your parts. And so try not to disconnect from them. You are not separate from them. They're all a part of you. They're just different branches.
I love that analogy because when you see a tree and you see the multitude of branches that they have, you're not questioning why is that branch going left and this branch ending so soon and that branch going so far. You just
Right.
see the totality of it. And we have, as women especially, this notion that we can tap in and turn on so quickly. That is guilt, that is shame, that is doubt,
Hmm.
because we are not allowing ourselves to see the full tree that we are. We're so zoomed in that one specific branch or the one specific relation or this one specific thing that's not going our way.
Exactly.
What you're sharing, Gianna, is so crucial to understand that not only did you make and take the leap of changing and shifting your career, you actually also rooted your roots so deeply and purely into Mother Earth and saying, I stand here now. So here you are, due to this divinely guided experience where you had an accident and you couldn't go to work, divinely orchestrated, of course.
Oh, 100%. That's what I said. I'm like, okay, God, Mother Nature, the universe has a plan for me, and I wasn't willing to listen to it, so it interjected and said, "We are redirecting you. How
Yeah,
many clues can we give you?"
right. But this is beautiful because we will not miss out on the things that we are meant to experience. And I really want the listeners to get it. We will not miss out on the things that we are meant to experience.
No, it's just our journey there differs based on how much we allow ourselves to follow our intuition.
Yes. And of course, we can choose to be stubborn and we can choose to be so occupied with the external world that we don't allow the internal world to be loud enough
Hmm.
for us to hear, for us to follow, for us to receive from. And that on its own is a journey, right? Like we've gone through it. Luckily, you chose to go internal. You chose to understand when your husband was like, have you noticed? There's so much more calmness. There's so much more joy here. And it's like, what did I change? I changed the one thing. I changed the routine of going to job. And you get so crystal clear with where you stand in that moment that you get to choose a different route. What did you choose from there?
So initially, I made the decision to leave the school board, and what felt them like it just felt natural to me to continue in the path of Reiki. And so, because through my own experience with Reiki, I was like, this is too valuable and too powerful to not share with my children. And then it became, this is too valuable and too powerful to not share with women. Because the one thing I learned when I was working in the school system, and that I still firmly believe today, is that women are the nucleus of every single home. They're the nucleus of the home. And when the woman, when the mother, when the wife is, when she is entangled and when she is burnt out and when she is misaligned, everybody in her world feels that. But when she is anchored and she is grounded and she is confident and she is in her power, everybody feels that too. And so I have made it my mission to not feel guilty for pouring into myself. I have made it my mission to not feel, shame or doubt for being the full expression of who I'm becoming, because I'm still growing and evolving and becoming, because I know that when I'm in my alignment, everybody around me benefits from that. And my relationships are fuller because of it. And I love myself more because of it. And my clients' lives are fuller because of it. And so it's just a huge ripple effect.
Yes. Oh my gosh, absolutely. It gets to be this grounded aligned energy that is not serving from I must go to a job to fill a role, but it's actually mission led. It
Yes.
is, it's that soul that's speaking through you that it's like, okay, we're going to serve this woman now, or we're going to do this now, or this is a new thing that's coming on your path, and we're going to have this experience now. But because you chose to be grounded, and because you led yourself into being open enough to have a new experience, you get to live a different life.
Yes. Yes. And that's yes. I just keep saying yes because that to me is alignment. It's just yes, yes, more, please, thank you. Yes. Like it's just let's keep going. And I look at situations now not as like right or wrong or failure or success, but like, okay, great. What did I learn from this? If I didn't get the result that I was hoping to get, there's still a lesson in that. And so extracting the lesson and the wisdom and taking it with me to my next experience. And so it totally changes the opportunities that come in, the relationships that come in, and the whole like trajectory of your life.
It's a frequency thing, right? Where are you? What radio signal are you giving to attract the right client, to attract the right relationship, the synchronicities with opportunities and all of that? Because that is where the magic lies.
Definitely.
So here's a question. What would you say, Gianna, are your top 3 shifts that since you have chosen alignment, since you have chosen to be more grounded in yourself and rooted there, that you have seen for yourself that's like, okay, everyone else, of course, they notice it. But for me, these 3 are the ones that were so strong and so there that allowed me to serve.
The top 3 chefs. I have healed parts of my inner child that I feel were buried for a long time or felt that she had to live and respond a certain way. I have learned to trust myself and make decisions from a place that feels right versus what I think I should do or have to do or need to do. And I've allowed myself to just be open and willing to whatever experiences come my way, to not try and push the resistance or block it and deflect it. And so I would really say that those 3, like healing the child part of us, is it's been a huge shift for me in allowing myself to like fully come into love who I am today and embrace who I am today, which then allowed me to trust my decisions more, right? Because when I'm anchored in who I am and I'm coming from a place of love for myself, then it opens up the door for me to trust myself more, which then allowed me to be more open and willing to whatever experiences come through for me in my life and handle whatever challenges and obstacles come through.
These 3 things, even though they might sound like, okay, I don't know what that means, or they might sound like, oh, they're just little things, they are so pivotal in how you live your life. For anyone listening who is like, I don't understand what that means, I don't know what it means to attend to my inner child or to that younger part of me that didn't get A, B, and C, or I don't know what I want of life. What would you say to that woman?
I would say that she's in there and she knows. And if you allow yourself to explore what's possible for you, if you allow yourself to be open and willing to bring to the surface whatever you feel, you think, without being afraid of feeling the feelings, you will probably discover the most beautiful parts of you. And I truly believe that Reiki allowed me, like, that was my journey. And for some women, it's different journeys. And truthfully, when I started my journey with Reiki, I didn't set out to heal my inner child. And that wasn't even a term that I used when I first started. But through that process, because Reiki is all about coming back to the core of who you are, the universal life force, using the universal life force energy, right? To come back to the core of the truth in life, which is love. it allowed me to work through situations, feelings, thoughts in my life and align with who I wanted to be, bringing more joy into my life. And so it was, you just discover, if you allow yourself to be open and rediscover your joy, you will find that beautiful version within you because she's already there. She's just waiting to be unlocked. Let's be honest. We all have that badass warrior in us, you know? And so we just often, as women, it gets layered with the roles and the responsibilities and the to-dos, and you know, we forget who we are at our core,
Yeah.
and we forget the simplest things of the beauty within us.
And it does start with fear, right? In that
Hmm.
moment when you chose to go have your first Reiki experience, the fear and the heaviness of the job was present.
Definitely.
And still without mentioning its fear, without saying and naming that it is fear, or saying and naming that this is this or the other, you just knew something was off
Yes,
and you took a step. And that is how it begins.
it is. And it's something that is happening in your current reality. And this is kind of where I was going with the inner child healing, is the relationships we have or the struggles we have, the things that we're facing in our current reality are wounded parts of us that have been carried with us forever, for years, right? Maybe even lifetimes, truthfully. And so when you do this type of work and when you allow yourself to grow and evolve and you get into personal development, you will often discover that the root of a lot of, your wounds or your triggers will come from childhood. And I think it's a beautiful place to allow yourself to go back to and sit with that part of you
Yeah.
and remind them that you've always got their back and that, like you have so much more wisdom now and today, and you'll carry them through whatever you need to go through, right? And that really, but like you said, it without having to name it, often women get into this type of work because there's a disconnect or a misalignment in their life, right? And they don't even quite know how to explain it or share it or know where it's coming from. But it's beautiful once you allow yourself to tap into it. And the ripple effect it has is incredible as well.
Well, that's exactly what happens in your journey where you access a modality without knowing the modality, without having any set notion of what those experience is going to be like,
Not at all.
to surrendering, and here's a power of surrender,
It is.
where you just show up and you allow whatever is present with yourselves in that moment to really be experienced. That led you to doing all the amazing things that you did and how you help and serve women today. It goes into that willingness of wanting to go through the fear, wanting to go through the hurt, wanting to go through that dissatisfaction and choosing differently every time.
Yes. And not being afraid of those feelings anymore, right? Like I feel like before this, there was so much resistance towards anxiety and overwhelm and fear. And now when it shows up, do I still experience? Yes, I still experience, of course, like grief, sadness, anger, fear. Like it's part of the human experience. But I don't wallow in it. I don't resist it. I just allow myself to feel it and to process it. And I try and, like I said, extract like the wisdom and the lesson from it. And I think when you surrender to the fear, like you said, like surrendering to the fear and trusting that you can get through it and that you will get through it, then it makes it that much. I don't want to use the word easier because it's still not always easy, but it allows it to be a little bit less painful, truthfully, in moving through the experience.
Yes. This conversation really allows me to look back in my own journey and be like, oh, that's connected to this, and that's
Hmm.
connected to this. And again, zoom out from the branch and look at the full tree.
Yes.
So thank you for bringing that wisdom, Gianna, and really sharing so openly of what so many women know. Like, this is not serving me, this is not working out for me, but then we suppress.
Yeah.
And yet you didn't do that. So you led by example, and you're leading by example by showcasing this to everyone who is privileged to be in your energy and to receive from you. And I'm grateful that you chose to come on this podcast and share this, because it is absolutely about us zooming out and allowing us to see how rooted we are. And maybe, just maybe, right now your roots are not going deep down into the ground, and you are actually not grounded. You're actually just seeing the roots going out into your relationships, into your career, into your children, into all of these roles that you play.
Mm-hmm.
But in that one small decision where you get to choose, like, today I'm going to do this for me, you get to bring those branches back into and root them inside so you actually stand taller. I'm
Yes.
so grateful for your share. And there's this little ritual we have on this podcast where I get to ask you a question that the previous guest has left. And once we're done recording, I'm going to ask you to leave a question as well.
Okay, let's do this.
The question I have for you today is, what lesson did you learn in your journey that you still carry with yourself every day?
Oh, so many lessons. I'm just going to sit with this for a second and see what comes up. The lesson that I have learned that I still carry with me today is that I am worthy just because. I am enough just because. I don't need to prove why I'm worthy. I don't need to prove why I'm enough. I am worthy because I am an extension of God, of Source, of the divine. And when I allow myself and I bring that back into a remembrance, this is a powerful lesson for me. When I allow myself to fully feel worthy and enough, it reminds me that I'm capable of anything.
We started this conversation with the word remembrance, and we are ending the conversation with the word remembrance. So may this conversation spark the remembrance of who you are to all the listeners, to all the ones who are meant to hear this conversation. May you truly receive and remember who you are and own it. Own your beauty, own your magic, own your power. I could not have worded it in any better way, shape, or form, or answered it this way. So thank you for that pure answer and sitting with it for a moment and really allowing the depth of that and that question to come into this beautiful, deep answer. Gianna, it was absolutely a pleasure having you here today. Thank you for your wisdom that you shared today and how you are a light for those who are seeking the alignment that they have inside of themselves. And anyone who feels inspired, please, please, please go into the description, reach out, connect, and really get yourself the remembrance of who you are. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening. I hope this episode has helped you to feel less alone in finding tools towards a life which is overflowing with love and purpose. If you enjoyed the episode, please take a second to rate and review. Each review helps us to reach more individuals who are seeking healing and personal growth just like you. And don't forget to take a screenshot and share your aha moments on your Instagram stories and tag me, Matina. See you next week. Take care.